Welcome to Meet the Candidates. I'm Deanne Healy, your host, and joining me is Michael Higgins, who is running for Ward 6 Council. So thanks for joining me, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
So this is your second term that you're running for?
Running for a second term, that's correct.
So why don't you just, for folks that may not know or be familiar with you, why don't you just share with us what made you decide to run for Ward Councilor?
Oh, okay. That's a great question, and thanks for asking it. So I've, lived in Peabody for 31 years. My wife Sheila and I started our family at 7 Catherine Drive, and we have 3 children. Youngest is 24, and my oldest is 29. And I now have time to do this kind of work, which I enjoy. I've always been, watching Peabody politics since I lived here. Noticed, when an open seat came available 2 years ago, I wanted to continue the path that the ward and the city was heading down, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I really wanted to give back to the community that we love through all the activities that we've been exposed to in the city with the children, and we just met so many wonderful people. It just seemed like a great opportunity for me to step in the ring, and couldn't have done it without the support of my wife Sheila and the family. They're also very supportive and helpful.
Great. What do you see as the biggest issue that's facing Ward 6?
So in Ward 6, number one issue is infrastructure improvements. And when I first ran 2 years ago, that's what I talked about. I wanted to, there were three things that I was really concerned about. Infrastructure improvements was number one. Number two was the, fiscal budget issues. I wanted to make sure the city was operating in a responsible way to support the improvements that we need and to make sure that our constituents are getting the services that they're paying for and come to expect.
Right.
And then lastly, also concerned about making sure that we have responsible development in the city. In Ward 6 in particular, when I first got into this, ran 2 years ago, there were definitely some significant concerns that our residents had about developments that were going on around the Ward 6 area.
Mainly out on Route 1?
Mainly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Did they come to fruition?
Yep, and as most people probably know, that one of the developments that happened was on Newbury Street. It ended up being 180 units there. That unfortunately, that developer went to the state and applied for a 40B and got it, and most of them do, and so that structure went up. But the good news for us as a city was that put us over the 10% level of affordable housing available. So going forward, we were able to really control our destiny when it comes to development. And there was, right after that, another opportunity where a developer wanted to add an additional number of units. I think it was 60 or 80, somewhere in that range. And that the city had more control over. So the ZBA did a great job. The citizens in the area in Ward 6, especially that Winona Street area, that area really came through, the Huntington Woods folks. It was really wonderful to see the residents rally and come to City Hall and be part of the process.
Great.
And that development was changed to something different.
Okay, so I imagine you've been out knocking on doors.
Oh, yeah.
What are residents telling you?
So as I stated when I first ran, infrastructure was most important, and our residents are also in Ward 6, very concerned about our infrastructure. Now, I would be remiss in not talking about some of the wonderful things that have happened for infrastructure build out. And if you would forgive me,
Sure, absolutely.
I have quite a list here. But I really am proud of the fact that I was part of a city council and all the other city departments that were involved, and there's many of them, too numerous to mention, so I'll leave people out. But we actually, as people know, we have the public safety building that's just reached a milestone of the halfway point, and that was much needed. The beginnings of a new high school is in process. Many residents are in favor, and they're happy to hear about that. The west and south, I felt very dear to my heart. The west school and the south school have funding now to fix the roof that is in much need of repair. So that's happening. The Carroll School renovation project happened. That's not in my ward, but as a city councilor, felt heard what was going on there, felt for the parents there, and that happened, and that was wonderful. The Council on Aging is a wonderful facility. I've been there many times, and a lot of Ward 6 residents volunteer their time there and have invited me to have lunch there, which I will do. It's a wonderful, wonderful meal, and
Especially with that new cafe.
and a great price. I can't beat it. But their roof is getting repaired, which has been in the works for a while, and it's finally happening. We're expanding the Greenway and the Riverwalk, so that's awesome for open space and bike paths and whatnot. So that's really cool. But the road resurfacing and sidewalks is one of the most important issues facing Ward 6 residents. And
I would say everybody has mentioned this.
I would probably think that is not a unique feeling in the city. I'm sure every resident in every ward feels the same way. In fact, I'm a staff engineer working for Sensitech in Beverly.
Okay.
And it's a company owned by Carrier, and many Peabody residents work there. And so they take the opportunity to talk to me about their streets and sidewalks that aren't in my ward. And maybe some of the other counselors, appreciate or don't appreciate the fact that I bring that message to them in their ward that hey, I have a coworker that wants their sidewalk done. And it's much needed. But that's something that really trying to work on in my first year. We got some done. I felt like I really wanted to get more, and I think part of that feeling for me is coming from the private sector and working as a staff engineer for about 37 years in the high tech area, where I feel like things move faster. And but I've learned over the first year there's a process to this,
Right.
and it's a good process. It's important. I'd like it to be quicker, though, and
Right.
I'd like us to do more than we've done, but we're doing what we can. And in my second year, I feel like I really got a lot of momentum going, and I learned how to work with the different departments. I've had great discussions with all of them, DPS, the mayor's office, and the forestry department, all wonderful people. I'm getting things done. I feel like I've gotten a lot more done this year than last year.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm hoping to win on November 4th to get a chance to continue that momentum into another term.
Great. Can we just go back and talk about the streets and sidewalks a
Sure.
little bit more? Because that has been literally come up in almost every conversation I've had with candidates. And they've kind of run the gamut. You're the first one that has said that there is a process in place. And I think maybe some of the frustration that residents feel is they don't know what the process is, right? Because it hasn't really been transparent. So is it that's roads and sidewalks are on a scheduled cycle that every so many years they will automatically be repaved? Is it who gets notice first, right? I've had somebody say that they've been waiting for 16 years and don't have an answer.
Yep.
Why they haven't come up. So
Yeah, and that's one of the frustrations I think everybody has, and it seems like it would be a straightforward process. People talk about the list, I'm on the list, and there is a list. For me in Ward 6, I'm keeping the list up to date. I work with the other departments, as I mentioned. A lot of factors weigh into it. It's the number. The busyness of the road. Is it a main artery to other parts of the city? So the amount of traffic and travel that the road sees is an important factor, but not the only one.
Right.
The other factors would be road repair. How often are we repairing these roads? Just this year, I was successful in working with the different departments, talking about our list of roads and being able to attack some of the roads that were what I would, in my opinion, were the worst. Now, when you go around, when you have about, say, whatever it is, 15 to 30 roads that you think need repair, and maybe you're going to get to 6 or 7 or 8 of them, there's going to be some roads where people live on those streets saying, I don't know why mine was missed. But it comes down to that. How often is DPS going out and repairing, certain roads?
Sure.
And I've heard that very thing from residents as I walked around One resident told me they've lived there 35 years and never saw their road repaired. Or another resident, maybe 50 years, don't remember seeing their road repaired. So it's really difficult to get after that. And I understand the frustration for the residents, but what I would do and what I do in my ward as the last year, 10 months, is I keep the dialogue open with the residents. I communicate with them. I they reach out to me, and I go and see them. We talk about the process. We talk about the road, and I advocate as hard as I can with the different departments to get it done.
Right. So I think you touch on another thing that I think we've heard this election season too, is that there are a number of residents that, there's some that you'll always hear from, right, when they have a question or concern, but the vast majority of people don't reach out and just don't engage. So how do we help them understand that there is a process, that somebody's just not overlooking it and spending the money on something else? How do we open that communication and dialogue that residents can feel heard about what their concerns are, and also vice versa? How do we do a better job of letting them know what's happening at City Hall?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't know that I have the magic answer for that. What I do though is the way I treat it is I reach out to as many residents as possible. If I'm out in on a street looking at a road with a resident, I try to talk to the other residents on the street as well and see what their thoughts are and let them know what we're doing. I strongly urge residents to reach out to me any which way they want to, whether they want to do a phone call, text message. I've received Facebook messages. I've even received calls to my home, which I was surprised that they found my number that way. But I'm more than happy to talk to anyone, and I encourage it, because if people don't reach out to their ward counselors, then it's really difficult for the ward counselor to just know, a certain, especially in Ward 6, we have over 190 roads. It's very difficult to walk all of those. Fortunately for me, I have the support of my family that's really interested in what I'm doing from a distance, we'll say. But they wouldn't want to do this, what I'm doing right now. But they help me by coming feedback to me about different roads. They go, my kids have so many friends in the ward and outside the ward, lifelong friends, and they'll come to me and tell me about a street that is bad, or it could be a sidewalk. For instance, my son and we went around over the last month and a half, 2 months, and comprised a list of stumps that haven't been grinded, just stumps in between the street and the sidewalk. We have a list of about 55 to 60 stumps that need to be grinded. That's a lot. And I believe the city as a whole, probably has around 350 of those. And the folks in the forestry department are attacking those, but it's a process when you have that many. And they're trying to spread themselves out, where they're not only working on my ward, although I'd love that, just do Ward 6, but they are working on all the wards.
Okay.
So it's going to take time to get to the 350.
Sure.
But I've been really impressed with the work that they've been doing with the new stump grinder that we appropriated this year, and it's been helpful. And
why did we cut down so many trees?
Lots of reasons for that. Some of them have died, some of them diseased. I will say this and I tell this to residents as well, the forestry department is not in the business of taking trees down. They do not like it. They like to save them. They're arborists at heart. So, but there are trees that just, they've been diseased or infestations, or they're dangerous. They've overgrown and they're falling down. And so they've been taking trees out when they see the need. It's a public safety issue. They'll do it. Okay, great.
Is there anything that we didn't touch on tonight that you want to share with the listeners or viewers?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to just mention too, in Ward 6, something that's unique to the ward is that we have an active quarry in the ward, and AKA Aggregate Industries, and it's one of the things that I wouldn't say inherited, but I knew going in that there would be the ward councilor has to work with Aggregate Industries and the city and all the residents. I really especially appreciate the when it comes to the quarry, the residents that live on Stiles Drive or on Russell Street, on Wentworth, on Upham, the folks that are really close to the quarry and Presidential Heights folks. And throughout the ward, when the quarry does a blast, people hear it and they feel it. And it's brief, but it's usually on a Thursday. But I've been working really hard with those folks, and I have to say that we have a good working relationship with the management team at the quarry, the residents that are in direct abutters. They've known folks. They've known the quarry's been there for years, but they have good relationship with the management team there. Where if they have an issue, they'll call me or they'll call the plant manager, and things get taken care of. So I've been really watching them and working with them pretty closely.
Okay.
And last summer, we had an issue where, and this is where, a ward councilor really relies on residents to contact them. I had an issue where, or we had an issue where there was a project in Revere where gas tanks were being taken down, about 19 of them, and they needed a lot of aggregate, and they went to Aggregate Industries, great business. However, that meant a sudden spike in traffic with trucks going down our roads, and Lake Street was one of the main thoroughways to Route 1.
Sure.
So residents reached out to me almost the moment it happened, the first week of that business. Got a lot of calls about a lot of trucks going up and down that area. So I worked with the quarry folks, asking the dispatcher to help redirect folks up Lowell Street onto Route 1 to the southbound on-ramp that way,
Okay.
rather than going through the residential neighborhoods, which didn't really work that well. They tried. And I took it upon myself to meet with the truckers early in the morning. There were about 14 different truckers that I met with and voiced the concerns that the residents were having about, 6:30 in the morning, trucks going down residential streets, using their engine braking and whatnot. So
Sure.
they did actually redirect and go up to Lowell Street
Okay.
and onto Route 1 South.
Well,
that
kudos to
way.
you. Yes.
So that worked out, and then they did, when traffic got really bad, maybe they used Lake Street later in the day, but it worked out. And residents contacted me and told me they saw an improvement almost immediately.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
those are the kind of things I think people need to reach out to their counselors about, so we can do things about it.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you for sitting down with me and sharing some of your thoughts and successes. And we
Thank
wish
you.
you luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.